always say we live in boring times. We live in a time of epic change. One of the top constitutional lawyers, former Trump lawyer, election fraud expert, Robert Barnes, joins us in this hour. The next hour, I'm going to get into this whole spectrum news I haven't hit. There's so much. We don't keep the best to last. It's all super critical, but we do get overloaded by the end because I want to hit a lot of this, so stay with us in the fourth hour. But regardless, you're the Paul Revere's. Tell folks about the local station you're listening to. Share the live feeds. That's how we reach more people. That's really where all the power is. And understand, it's been your long-term financial support that's held off the Democrat Party law firms, the DOJ, the CIA, and by us holding out so long, we've kept getting the information out, breaking thousands of huge stories, hundreds of massive stories, dozens of top stories that have changed the world, and it's exposed all their criminal activity, and now they are convicted in the court of public opinion, and it's known. I get basically zero hate in public now, and that's just Democrats, liberals walk up everywhere, wherever I'm in Target or wherever, and apologize. And so I'm just a bellwether. But you're not a public figure, which is great. It's great to be private. You don't know. You still feel like you're alone. No, we're the majority. Now, we have Comey and Letitia James and this judge killing it. And we have the issues there of, is the statute of limitations up? Do they appeal it? What happens? And really the anemic fact that Trump hasn't been able to get enough good people in that'll take action in the DOJ. But then bigger than that even is the real poll numbers I got from White House sources. And I asked Roger about this the other day. He was there for those meetings. He said, yeah, it's true. I forgot to ask him last hour about it. The poll numbers the White House had mirrored the Rasmussen top pollster, Mark Mitchell, we had on last week, or the week before now. So they then summoned him Tuesday to the White House from the show they watched for a 3-hour meeting, an hour with Trump, 2 hours with Susie Wiles, vice president, and others came in. So they're listening, and they're listening intensely. They wouldn't be wasting their time if they weren't. So to me, Trump's doing a great job overall, but he needs to course correct on messaging. And now we're seeing that where you have this stay-behind network, sleeper cells, CIA, John Brennan, Smith-Mundt Act repeal enabled this, operating the same one we fought in the last 9 years, trying to push this overthrow the president thing, rolling it out there. But they're going to investigate the video that's legal. What's not legal is the intent of having the lawmakers and CIA operatives put that out ahead of an event to demonize Trump. It goes into the Podesta plan and the coup plan and the admissions to want to delegitimize him using stay-behind network money that Biden put in through USAID and other places that's been declassified and released. So it's the compendium of Crossfire Hurricane and Arctic Frost and all the things they've done in the election fraud and the fake impeachments by this group that's unelected. That's the cut and dry seditious conspiracy, the treason. We have a real constitutional expert on this joining us to walk through. So he can start anywhere he wants with Comey, with that. But the good news is now all these Trump surrogates, and Jesse Waters admitted it last night. He said, I didn't understand all this. I just had 2 CIA high-level people read me in on it. They loaded my teleprompter. And it's word for word what I say because it's the truth. I'm not CIA. I can just reverse engineer it. They do the regime change. This is the first time I've seen CIA blowing the whistle on other factions, because that's how it works, doing this, explaining they're setting up a big event to frame Trump and launch a civil war, which you've heard here 1,000 times or more. The point is, because they were arrogant enough to put it in the Podesta plan and other plans, the point is to now have Trump surrogates on Fox, Newsmax, former CIA section chiefs popping up everywhere that were good guys saying, get ready, they're about to make a move, shows that Trump's entered a new arena here where you don't just argue each fake new thing they launch, you cut right to the chase that it's a rogue government doing this. You do that, the public knows you're the underdog, they understand what's happening, and then it's game over for them. So this is very exciting development. I don't think even people that are politically wise get how big it is. Maybe I'm wrong, but I really respect constitutional lawyer Robert Barnes' take on that. We'll put his URLs up and how you follow him on X. Barnes, where do you want to start first?
Well, at any point, I mean, we have an internal struggle within the Trump administration that's going to be externalized by a wide range of bad faith and good faith actors trying to win that internal battle. So inside the Trump administration, you have the people representing Wall Street and Soros, Scotty Bessent, who got all his wealth and connections from George Soros. You've got the national security establishment, the military-industrial complex, represented by narco Marco Rubio and his cocaine cowboys family history. You've got the CIA intelligence structure. Gabbard, and by Deputy Director of National Intelligence Joe Kent. You have very good work that Maha is trying to pursue. Maha, Robert Kennedy, Secretary of Health and Human Services, and the people he's put in place in charge at the FDA and the CDC, but they are constantly being undermined by the bad faith actors in the Justice Department, while you have good ones like Harmeet Dillon at Civil Rights, Gail Slater at the Antitrust Division, the Ed Martin at the Lawfare Division. You have the bad faith actors who are constantly sabotaging it, like Pay for Play, Pam Bondi, like Sovereign District of New York, Todd Blanche, like you do in other sections like the EPA and Lee Zeldin, who today, again, is announcing more forever chemicals to be stuck into our food supply. So you've got a constant, continuous war within the administration, and you're going to see that represented outside the administration. The bad faith actors that want to threaten some form of civil war or global conflict as a way to detract and distract from the Trump agenda in the White Hats. The White Hats relying upon you, Alex, relying on Steve Bannon, relying upon all of us to be able to voice our opinions in the court of public opinion so that the good side and the White Hats can win out in the end run. You just saw a mini example of it in the Comey indictment. Trump demanded it got indicted. Lindsey Halligan did the right thing by indicting. But Pam Bondi was asleep at the wheel, and that's why the indictment got dismissed. Now, the good news is it can be reinstated within 6 months. So the statute of limitations is told because the case was dismissed without prejudice. So both the indictment against James and Comey can be reinstated. But if it's going to be effective, they need to take it down to the Southern District of Florida, where the prosecutor there is not a deep state prosecutor, where they already have an open grand jury investigating Clapper and Brennan and Comey and all of them for the extensive lawfare that Russiagate was just one constituent component of. They have all the Tulsi Gabbard referrals and all the evidence she put together. And they should just incorporate the Comey indictment with that. And that would be a safer, more effective venue with a impartial grand jury, impartial jury pool, and judges that have actually had a history like Eileen Cannon of standing up to deep state corruption and collusion. And it's a related case under the federal law because it relates to the Trump case that Judge Cannon was also assigned, since the Russiagate raid was all part of an extended continuing cover-up to deal with all the lawfare and deep state coup attempts against President Trump, of which James Comey was neck deep. And goes back a long, extending, as we've discussed. Comey's corruption goes back to the 1990s. It goes back to the Clinton era, when he was at the Sovereign District of New York. I mean, he was there when I believe when Todd Blanche was interning. So that gives you an idea of why Blanche is unreliable. So all of that is promising and potential. But then we see at the same time the sabotage of the Ukraine peace deal that just took place this past week, when the Vice President Vance, to his credit, realizes Ukraine is about to get wiped out on the battlefield. Understand it's in President Trump's best interest for that war to end, and to end ASAP. No more sanctions on Ukraine, no more U.S. soldiers on the ground. People don't realize there are, in fact, U.S. soldiers on the ground in Ukraine. They're the ones operating the HIMARS. They're the ones operating a lot of the U.S. weapons. They're the ones directing intelligence on a daily basis. This has been hidden from the American people, but it's indisputable. When somebody dies in the war, they pretend they were a mercenary or something like that, or they lie about where they died.
Or there's a helicopter crash. Yeah, and I said that 3.5 years ago. Even the New York Times 6 months ago broke the news that really the U.S. has been running the war the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. And so Vance goes in, he goes to the, what was loosely called Istanbul Plus, which was what Russia laid out and Putin laid out in the summer of 2024 as their conditions of peace. President Trump agreed to that in Alaska in August, agreed to it again on the phone with Putin in October.
And by the way, Russia strategically, overwhelmingly, cut and dry won, so they have all the cards. Europe didn't send in the 250,000 army. They didn't pony up the hundreds of millions, so it's done. All of it just kills more people so the deep state can launder more money for a while, and the Russians will then just take the whole thing, which they don't even want, but for a security guarantee, they'll have to if they don't have a guarantee not bring in NATO. We know this New Deal has a poison pill of NATO troops. possible NATO entry. So it's not a real peace offer by Ukraine. It's a poison pill.
Absolutely. I mean, Vance went to great lengths with Witkoff and Jared Kushner to get a good peace deal on the table. And then Kellogg leaked it to sabotage it because it was just in the negotiation terms of agreement stage, not detailed out yet. That completely side railed it. Then Rubio steps in with all the lunatics in the Senate, bloodthirsty Mitch McConnell, Don Porky Bacon, Brian Fitzgerald from Bucks County. Like, these counties and states and districts care about Ukraine, but it's the only thing these corrupt congressmen and senators care about in the brothel of blood.
Because they're laundering money back to themselves. When you look at the neocon groups that Cotton and all them, Chair McCain's former group with Lindsey Graham, they're literally getting money right back to themselves.